Excuse me, I wasn't offered any chips.
You had tots in your pocket? Are you
Napoleon,
recording?
give me some of your tots.
Can you bring me my chapstick?
Just go to the school nurse. She's probably got 5 sticks in her drawer.
No, God. I haven't seen that movie in years.
It's so good. Anyway, welcome to the Ghosty Girls podcast. I'm Christina.
I'm Alicia with the crunchy chips. By chips, I mean fries. I'm not English. I am.
Fish and chips. We're having a pizza party today to celebrate the start of summer.
Yay.
Yay. ASMR.
Sorry if you're hungry and you're listening.
Yeah. This pizza slaps, too.
Just slap your mama.
Yeah, we're recording a little later today, so I feel like I might be a little funnier today because I'm actually awake. We usually... Holy shit.
How's it going?
We usually record in the morning, and I feel like I'm not really alive in the morning. Like, when I come alive is at night. That's when I'm at my funniest, okay? When I'm, like, sitting in bed watching shit, and I make my commentary.
And she's had 2 blunts down. I'm just kidding.
3.
Oh, shit. My girl getting crazy.
Why are you gonna call me out like that?
Sorry, delete it. You edit.
Yeah, we're having a summer celebration party today. It's
crazy.
officially summer.
It's officially summer! Give him one!
Yeah.
Give him one!
Oh, there you go. Yay! So what better way to kick off the summer than with a summer series?
Yay! How many parts? 17?
No, it's actually only going to be 2.
Yes.
Yep. This is going to be part 1 of the story of one of my favorite girls of summer, Florida drifter and murder extraordinaire, Aileen Wuornos.
Oh.
Yeah, buddy.
Man. Okay.
So if you are not familiar with the Aileen Wuornos case, I'm sure you've heard of the movie Monster, starring Charlize Theron, Charlize, and Christina Ricci. Charlize actually won an Oscar for her portrayal of Aileen. Little fun fact. But as entertaining as that film is, it is wildly fabricated and inaccurate.
Really?
Weird, right?
I mean, Hollywood.
Right? The movie, as a standalone movie, is fabulous. Like, if you were just to watch it, knowing that it's fiction that's extremely loosely based on a real story, then it's enjoyable. But if you know the real story of the real Aileen Wuornos, you'll definitely look at that movie in a much different light. Because the movie kind of portrays her as a victim. We don't really know if that's the case. Okay. And we're going to get into that later.
But are we going to learn today?
We're going to learn today. I'm going to take you to church. The Church of Aileen Wuornos. She actually is religious.
Amen. Amen. Just kidding.
But enough about the movie for now. Let's get into the true story. Drumroll, please. Aileen Carol Wuornos was born on February 29th, 1956 in Rochester, Michigan, to Diane Wuornos and Leo Pittman. Another fun fact is that Aileen was a leap year baby.
Oh.
So as a child, her birthday was only celebrated every 4 years.
That sucks.
I know. It really does.
I mean, what do you do realistically? Move your birthday?
I guess. I don't know if there's any leap babies listening. Hit us up. Let us know. But here's the thing, though. My birthday is not just a day. I celebrate the entire month. And I feel like that's the way it should be for everyone, unless you suck.
Yeah, that's fair.
Celebrate that birthday all month, you know?
Get it. Celebrate that birthday all year.
Yeah.
Live your life.
Just
Eat the
celebrate
cake.
life, all right? So Aileen's mother was only 16 years old when she had Aileen. And at the time that she was pregnant with Aileen, she was actually separated from Aileen's father. So they weren't together.
Got it.
Now, there's a huge nature versus nurture debate when it comes to serial killers, but it's safe to say that Aileen was screwed from both sides. With the combination of her upbringing and her genetics, she literally never stood a chance. Aileen's father, Leo, whom she never met, by the way, was plagued with severe mental health issues, including schizophrenia, and he was eventually sentenced to life in prison for the kidnap, rape, and sodomy of a 7-year-old girl. Jesus. That's her father.
Okay.
So not a good start genetically. You know what I mean? So after Leo was sentenced to life in prison, he actually ended up committing suicide in 1969 by hanging himself in his cell.
Ugh.
Yeah. It's interesting to note that Eileen's mother was only 14 years old when she married Leo Pittman. So this guy just had pedophile written all over him. Like, that's gross.
Yeah.
Also, what the fuck is a 14-year-old girl doing getting married in the first place?
I don't know. I see all these, like...
Who co-signed off on that, okay?
It's gross. It's gross.
Very gross.
But I am nervous for, like, society right now because you see all these, like, trad wife things.
Yep.
These girls are, like, freshly 18 getting married.
Yeah.
And, like, telling people how their marriage should be run. They're 18. Ma'am, you do not have life experience. Like, sorry, that was, I got way off topic there, but that just reminded me of that.
It's on topic because she was 14 years old getting married. I'm sorry, you don't have any business. I don't think anybody should get married before the age of 30. If I was president, that would be a law. Because I don't feel like you even know who you are until you're 30. Yep. And even that's putting it lightly.
I agree, 1,000%.
Anywho, I digress.
Our TED Talks?
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Oh, and may I add, Aileen actually had an older brother named Keith. So Eileen's mother was just pumping babies out while she was still pretty much a baby herself. The whole thing is just, it's fucked. When Aileen was just 4 years old, her mother, Diane, completely abandoned her and her brother, Keith, and dumped the kids off with their parents and just took off. Yeah.
I hate her.
Yep. In 1960, Eileen's grandparents adopted Aileen and Keith, which you would think would be a good thing, right? Yeah. No. Aileen had a rough childhood being raised by her grandparents, and that's just putting it lightly. Lori and Britta Wuornos were both physically abusive alcoholics and in no way fit to raise children. Aileen alleged multiple times that she was even sexually abused by her grandfather.
Oh, gross.
Yeah. Her friends recounted instances of being witness to the brutal beatings that Aileen was subjected to by her grandfather. So people actually saw this.
And it was her friends, which means they were also young. So that had to be traumatizing for them.
Yes. Actually, later on at it was a hearing to try to stay Eileen's execution date because, spoiler alert, she was executed. But one of her childhood friends was on the stand testifying about her childhood and talking about how she watched Aileen just be whipped relentlessly by her grandfather. Aileen herself also said that she would be like made to like strip down and lay on a bed, spread eagle, while her grandfather would just whip the shit out of her with his belt, which is horrific.
It's awful. I have no words. That sounds terrible.
Yeah, and this is the part where you can feel bad for the child serial killer, even though you know what they do later on. Right. Like, this childhood is awful. It's awful. Aileen also alleged that she had a sexual relationship with her brother Keith, although she would then go back on that statement, as she often does. And you'll see that's a pattern with Aileen. She's not the most credible source, to say the least. But again, many people have testified that not only was she beaten by her grandfather, but that they actually physically saw her having sex with her brother. Yeah, because apparently they would have like a camp out in the woods. And that's where she started her career of sex work, was with these boys and even men. Mm-hmm.
Gross.
Aileen began acting out, doing drugs, drinking, and trading sexual favors out in the woods with the boys of the neighborhood for money, alcohol, and cigarettes. She soon became known in the community as the cigarette pig. That's what they called her.
The cigarette pig. Gross.
I know. Fucking awful. So at the age of just 9 years old, she was stealing, she was setting fires, which is also a hallmark trait of serial killers. At the age of 14, following in her mother's footsteps, Aileen became pregnant. Rumors circulated throughout town that the baby was her grandfather's. Some people thought it was her brother's. Some people said it was a family friend. And some people thought that the baby was the baby of Chief, the quote-unquote local pedophile. Because apparently this town was so charming that they had their very own local pedophile.
You know, and they let him live and be a pedophile. That's a problem.
Yeah, and apparently the kids in the neighborhood would go over his house, sit on his lap, all that. So, yeah. No words. Aileen was quickly placed in a home for unwed mothers, and she gave birth to a baby boy in 1971. This baby, whom she named Keith after her brother, was taken away from Aileen immediately, put up for adoption, and no one knows what happened to this child or where he is today. In her appeal to the state of Florida after her sentencing, it is noted that Aileen was, quote, raped by a family friend, and that the pregnancy was a result of that rape, which she did not disclose to her family until 6 months after the fact. Again,
That sucks.
Yeah. The true identity of the boy's father has never been revealed, so it's all just left up to speculation at this point. But can you imagine being genetically related to Aileen Wuornos? Like, I'm genuinely curious what happened to this guy.
And like, not maybe he doesn't even know.
I know.
Wow.
Like, where is he today, and how, like, does he know that she's his mother?
Is he okay?
I
Is he killing people?
Who knows? Soon after Aileen returned back to her grandparents' home after her birth, Eileen's grandmother died of complications from alcoholism. Aileen told a story that she apparently like went up to the corpse at the funeral and blew smoke in her face.
Wasn't that in the movie?
No, it wasn't.
No?
No. And also, before she left the funeral, she did a little funeral funny, and she switched the men's restroom sign with the women's restroom sign. And I'm sorry, that's fucking funny.
That's funny. I mean, the bathroom thing's funnier to me.
The bathroom thing's real fucking funny.
Can you imagine? Like,
That's some shit I would do.
I
Probably
know.
not at a funeral. I take that back. I probably
she'd do it.
I like to be a troll, okay? It is what it is. I like to do funnies.
And she owns it. It's
I
hysterical.
do. It's, I'm
don't
always
give a
fucking with
shit.
people.
Yeah.
But I only fuck with people that I like. If I don't like you, I don't fuck with you. I don't.
I like it.
Like, that's how you can tell if I like you, is I joke around and make fun of you.
Yep.
If I don't like you, I won't make fun of you.
Yeah, that's how I know we're
Little fun fact.
We're so close.
Yes.
If you were to sit here and listen to us when we're not recording, we just trash each other 90% of the
We
time.
really do. You would think that we hate each other, but no.
No.
No, we don't.
No, it's hysterical, and we know
It
that
is.
we're joking.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Because-
have it any other way.
And if I'm like telling you something serious, like, oh, well, you know what I mean? Like, you get a different tone.
Yeah, yeah.
You get a different tone. We'll drop it down. That was stupid. Sorry, but
No, it's fine. It's funny.
I digress.
So after Eileen's grandmother passed away, she continued acting out, running away from home for long periods at a time, and then she ultimately dropped out of high school, which, I mean, I don't think she stood a chance anyway.
I was going to say, I can't believe she was even still in.
I know,
high school.
I know. Aileen was then thrown out of the house by her grandfather, and she was completely homeless at the age of 15. She was completely homeless. She lived out in the woods in a makeshift fort. She would sleep in people's cars. They would like let her, sleep in their car or whatever. It's crazy. She continued to do sex work in order to support herself. And Aileen would later talk about the absolutely brutal weather conditions that she was forced to sleep in, and how she even had permanent damage to the nerves in her hands from this.
I'm sure.
So this teenage girl was just left to her own devices and completely abandoned by everyone. Like, everybody failed her. I'm sorry. Everyone failed her.
It sounds like it.
Yeah.
Already.
If one person would have cared about her, this might have turned out differently. But here we are. So Aileen was pretty much completely alone, but she did have one friend named Dawn Botkins, whom she remained friends with throughout her incarceration and her death. Eileen's friend Dawn would later go on to publish a book called Letters to Dawn, which contained, you guessed it, Eileen's letters to Dawn Botkins while she was incarcerated. I will say that Eileen's handwriting is fucking stunning.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I read through a lot of the letters just so I could like get inside her head for the episode.
Yeah.
Her handwriting does not reflect what was going on in her brain. I'll just say that because she was very disturbed. Very, very disturbed. And I'll do an excerpt from that book later on.
Good. I'm excited to hear it.
Yeah. By the early 70s, Aileen had several run-ins with the law, including DUIs, firing a gun out of a moving vehicle, and disorderly conduct charges. She also loved getting into bar fights and throwing cue balls at people.
Okay. That can hurt too, man.
You could probably kill somebody.
You think?
If you hit them the right way on the head with a cue ball.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah. She was known for her hair trigger temper, and she would literally fly off the handle at any given moment for absolutely no reason. Like, she would go from 0 to 100 and then snap back to her normal self as fast as she lost it. Like, people would say that they'd just be sitting there talking to her, and all of a sudden, like, her eyes would change, and she would just flip the fuck out, and they'd be like, whoa, like, what the fuck's going on?
What's happening?
She definitely had some mental issues going on, and I'll talk about that in the second episode. One really interesting letter that I read in this Letters to Dawn book was a letter that Aileen wrote. And you know the song Slow Ride? Like, slow ride, take it easy. It's by a band called Foghat. Mm-hmm. Apparently in Florida, Aileen ran into the band.
Oh,
okay.
Shit. Okay.
And she was brought back to, like, this big mansion for her services. Okay. In her letter, she talked about her rendezvous with the lead singer and Foghat, and made a point to talk about how small his appendage was.
Was his name P. Diddy? Too soon?
Yeah. Too soon.
Never too soon. Let me see your Tootsie Roll.
But, like, can you imagine?
No. That's funny.
It is kind of funny. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if she wasn't crazy, she would have been one of our people.
She had some stories.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
She had some stories. That is for sure.
Had she, like you said earlier, had
one person. If she even had one person that cared about her, this could have gone completely differently. So yeah, as I said a second ago, she made her way to Florida in 1976, and she actually met a 69-year-old yacht club president named Louis Gratz Fell. Louis was incredibly wealthy, and for a little bit, things started to look up for Aileen. Louis started taking care of her. He was giving her money. He showed her off to all his yacht club people. And like back in the day, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you've heard of Aileen Wuornos. You've probably seen a picture of her in her later days, like after she was arrested.
She was pretty though, initially.
Back in the day, she was gorgeous. She really was. So he was showing this young, hot chick off to all his, yacht club people, all his older friends. Like, she was living the life. She was a yacht club wife for a little bit.
Fancy.
Yeah. So they soon married, but the married life proved to not be the life for Aileen. She wasn't a conventional type of girly, if you know what I'm saying.
I get it.
She continued bar hopping and involving herself in bar fights. And Louis, he started growing tired of the shenanigans. Like he's 69 years old. He wants to settle down. He wants his young little hot piece, and she's out here throwing, cue balls at people.
He's bailing her out of jail every other day.
Probably, yeah. Like, he's got money. He has his shit together. And now he's here dealing with this complete hot mess of a young wife. All right. So just a few weeks after Aileen and Louis got married, they had an altercation. And Aileen nearly beat him almost to death with his own cane.
Oh, jeez.
So needless to say, Lewis got the fuck out of Dodge and divorced Aileen.
Smart.
Yeah, because he probably would have ended up her first victim. Yeah, so that was the end of that. So while all this was going on, Eileen's brother Keith was battling cancer, which he eventually succumbed to in 1976. This was also the year that Eileen's abusive grandfather committed suicide in his garage. So we've just got all kinds of shit going on with this family.
That's a lot to happen in like 1 year.
Oh, yeah. A lot. The family was already fucked up. So after her brother Keith died, he actually left her a large sum of money. She got an inheritance from him. And what she did is she blew almost all of it on a luxury car, which she totaled almost immediately after she bought it.
Of course she did.
Right. So after all this, Aileen was understandably like pretty depressed. She had lost her brother, whom, you know, even though she claims that they had like a sexual relationship and all that, like they still were close and she still loved her brother.
Well, she named her child after
Correct.
her brother.
Yep.
Could have been his. We don't know.
Who even fucking knows? She thought things were looking up for her. She bought that car and then she fucking totaled it. So she was pretty depressed. And in 1977, Aileen attempted suicide by shooting herself in the stomach.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know that either.
I know. And this was one of several alleged suicide attempts in her life, according to Aileen. She says that she actually tried to commit suicide 6 times by the time she had turned 22.
That sucks.
I know. She had a shitty fucking life, man.
It sounds like it was rough.
A little bit. So for the next few years, Aileen drifted around Florida as a sex worker. She continued to have run-ins with the law for various offenses and subsequently went to prison for armed robbery in 1982. On her arrest records, it frequently notes that her, quote, attitude was poor, which I had a little giggle at.
Yeah.
Because that's probably what
yours would just say, raging
she was
bitch,
a bitch.
Watch out. She just some bitch.
This bitch will kill you.
Literally.
Yeah. It's also noted that Aileen committed the armed robbery to find out if her boyfriend at the time really loved her.
Stop.
And if he would stand by her.
I can't.
Spoiler alert, he did not.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I'm shooketh.
In 1986, at the age of 30, Eileen's life seemed to take a turn for the better when she met 24-year-old Tyria Moore at a gay bar called Zodiac in Daytona Beach, Florida. Aileen quickly fell head over heels in love with Ty. And I'm just going to call her Ty from now on because that's what she went by, I should say. But love did not come easy for Aileen, and I can't imagine why. I mean, she had such great examples as a child, you know?
Yeah.
Aileen had a violent, jealous streak about her, and she hated for anyone else to have Ty's attention. She was insanely possessive, and she was terrified that Ty would leave her. So she would, like, do anything for Ty. Give her money. She would do anything for her. Aileen funded her lifestyle with Ty by performing sex work, and she was doing pretty well for herself at the time. Like, she was making a lot of money as a sex worker. And remember, like, at this time, she was looking a little rough, but she still was fairly good looking. So,
Yeah.
you know, she was making money.
Well, she's in her late 20s at this point, right?
She was 30.
30.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, same thing. So, at this time, Ty was working as a hotel maid. She would quickly quit that job because Aileen was, you know, funding her lifestyle.
Yep.
But according to Aileen, Ty used up all the money for beer and her party lifestyle. They bounced from motel to motel. They lived in trailers, and they even lived in the woods when they had to. Ty stated multiple times that she did not approve of Eileen's career choice, but by all accounts, did not have any issue whatsoever spending Eileen's money that she made from it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Aileen remained volatile, and she never shied away from a confrontation. Again, continued to get into bar fights. She vandalized property, and she even got in trouble for, quote, making threatening calls to a supermarket. I could not find any information as to why she did that, but apparently
She did.
she made threatening calls to a supermarket. So that brings us to 1989. And before we get into the murder part of this, it's important to note that there are many conflicting stories and details from Aileen herself. And to this day, it is unclear what exactly her motives were. She sometimes claimed that she committed these murders in self-defense. Then she would go back on that and say that she committed the murders because she was, quote, in the robbin' biz. That's what she called it.
The robbin' biz.
And it's so funny because she's got like a southern accent. So she'd be like, I was in the robbin' biz.
I was in the robbin' biz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she states that since she was in the robbin' biz, she needed to eliminate the witness. So she would kill them. But then she would go back on that and say, just kidding, it was self-defense. So it's very convoluted. Again, we will never know the actual true story behind her MO. All we can really do is look at the factual evidence and draw conclusions based on that, because Aileen is not a good historian in that regard. So this brings us to Aileen's first victim. Richard Mallory was a 51-year-old electronics store owner who picked up Aileen while she was hitchhiking on the night of November 30th, 1989. He picked her up, drove her to a remote wooded area. And I will note that Richard was a known John in the area, and he frequently paid for the company of female sex workers. So this wasn't something out of the norm for him. I also want to note that when Richard Mallory was found murdered, police actually questioned several of the sex workers that he would frequent, and all of them said that he was never violent. Never. So that, just keep that in the back of your mind. The details of the murder are, again, incredibly convoluted. Aileen at first insisted that the murder was strictly in self-defense after Mallory brutally raped and assaulted her. It is important to note, and I am not trying to victim shame, but this is a fact and it is relevant to this case. Richard Mallory was previously convicted of attempted rape in Maryland, and he actually did serve prison time for that conviction. Again, it's a fact. Now, does that mean that he did in fact rape Aileen because he had already had a disposition to that type of behavior? We don't know. Facts are important, so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that he was convicted for attempted rape in the past. In another confession, Aileen stated that she, quote unquote, thought that Richard Mallory was going to rape her. So she pulled out a gun on him and shot him before he had the chance to kill her. In yet another confession, in Nick Broomfield's documentary, Life and Death of a Serial Killer, Aileen states that there was no self-defense and that she got into Richard Mallory's car with the specific intention of robbing him and stealing his wheels and then shooting him to eliminate him as a witness.
Because she lived that Robin life.
Because she was into the Robin biz.
Robin biz.
Robin biz.
I forgot that fast.
But then in that documentary, later on, when she thinks that the cameras are off, she whispers to Nick Broomfield, who's the documentarian, that it in fact was self-defense, but that she was confessing to cold-blooded murder because she was ready to be executed. So, again, what actually happened, we'll never fucking know. In a letter to her friend Dawn Botkins, dated May 8th, 1992, Aileen stated in her own words the following regarding the Richard Mallory case. And this is actually what she testified in trial as well. So Aileen says, Richard Mallory raped me, whereas he tied me to the steering wheel, then proceeded to vaginally and anally rape me for nearly 2 hours. Then after he was done, he put rubbing alcohol that he had in a Visine bottle down the bottom of my nose, vagina, and anus. Ugh. This was excruciatingly painful. He tore me up bad. I had never had sex like that. I never allowed exotic weird stuff while I tussled. Just clean stuff. Again, she told this exact story during her trial, which was televised, and it's a really good watch if you're into trials. Like, I definitely recommend watching that on the Court TV app. I watched it, for research for this episode. It's super interesting to see those court proceedings. It's interesting to see her testimony. Very, very interesting to see how she reacts to the verdict, and I'm going to play that in episode 2.
Okay.
It's fucking bonkers. If you watch everything, you basically see her just deteriorating. Like, it's...
Mentally.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's bad. Yep. After this alleged altercation between Aileen and Richard took place, and again, I'm going to say alleged because we don't know if an altercation took place. What we do know is that Aileen shot Richard 4 times, and then she stood there while he actively died for as long as 20 minutes. So
That's brutal.
She stood there watching him die for approximately 20 minutes.
That's brutal.
Yeah, this wasn't a quick death. What I personally think happened, I think that Richard Mallory was the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back for Aileen. Okay. She had been treated so poorly by men her entire life. She was essentially treated like a piece of meat. They only wanted sex from her. They called her names. They made fun of her. She never had a man actually be nice to her. I think the only one was, you know, when she was married for a couple of weeks. And she fucked that all up.
And her brother.
Yeah, but also if they were having like an incestuous relationship, she probably would have felt like a piece of meat. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that she got to the point where she didn't even see men as human anymore. I think Richard probably mouthed off to her, or maybe he did get a little too handsy. I don't know. And I think she had just had it and she snapped.
I get it.
Yeah. She snapped like all those other bitches on that Oxygen series.
Snap, snap.
Snapped, yeah. And I feel like this was probably the catalyst for her descent into just complete mayhem and murder. And also, she saw how easy it was to kill someone. She saw how easy it was to get away with it. And she also got free shit because she stole from her victims.
Yep.
So in her mind, she was probably like, why am I going to bang these dudes for money when I can just kill them and take their money anyway?
And she probably made even more, plus she could take their car.
Exactly. Yep. So after this alleged altercation between Aileen and Richard, and I'm going to say alleged because, again, I don't know what happened. No one knows what happened. We can only speculate. But what we do know as a fact is that Aileen shot Richard 4 times, and then she stood there while he actively died for as long as 20 minutes. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, this was not a quick death. She, didn't do anything to help him. She stood there and watched him die. So the self-defense theory, it's not like she shot him and then was able to run away. She shot him 4 times and then stood there and watched him die. Is that common for self-defense? I don't know.
There's, 2 different ways. Like the first one, she could just be that twisted. Or if he genuinely was trying to hurt her, she could have just been getting 100% vengeance and making sure that he was gone.
Yeah, true. Yep. After Richard was dead, Aileen went through his pockets. She actually emptied his pockets because when they found his body, his pockets were turned inside out. She took his cash and she took his driver's license. She then dragged his body to the side of the woods and covered it with carpeting and pieces of cardboard that she found discarded back in the woods. She then threw his clothing into the woods and drove his car back to the Ocean Shores Motel where she was living with her girlfriend, Tyria Moore. She then woke Ty up and told her that she had finally gotten the money to move to a better place. They then loaded up all of their belongings into Richard Mallory's car and moved into their new place. Ty later said that Aileen told her that the Cadillac was just a loaner from a friend and that she didn't think anything of it. Weird because Aileen didn't have any friends.
Right.
But anyway. Aileen then told Ty that she needed to get the car back to her friend, so she put her bike in the back and then took off to go dump the car on a dirt road in a wooded area. Before abandoning the car, she made sure to thoroughly wipe down the car to get rid of any fingerprints and any of her DNA. So she was pretty smart about it.
I hope you got a big trunk because I'm going to put my bike in it.
You were waiting to say that,
I was. I was biting my tongue.
She was perched at her mic like, I have something to say.
Whenever you're done, bitch, I got a joke.
Yeah, like, let's wrap this up. I'm trying to be funny. After she abandoned the car, she also stole some of Richard's possessions, including an expensive toolbox and a camera. And in a really, really stupid move, Aileen actually pawned the items that she had stolen from Richard Mallory. As you can imagine, this will ultimately come back to bite her in the ass in the end, but we'll get to that later.
Eventually, right?
Richard Mallory's Cadillac was discovered by police later that very same day that she dropped it off. So she didn't hide it very well. And finding the car abandoned like that in the woods was immediately suspicious. As smart as Aileen was about the car, there were a couple of key details that she forgot about. First, she had adjusted the seat when she was driving and had left it that way. So what this told police was that Richard Mallory obviously did not drive his car there. Someone considerably shorter than him had driven it and dumped the car off. And then they were kind of like, maybe it was a female. Who knows?
I don't know.
They also noticed that the car had been completely wiped down. And most damning of all was what appeared to be a bloodstain on the back headrest of the driver's seat. So,
Ew.
They knew some shit went down in that car.
I mean, at that point.
Yeah. While all of this was going on, Ty and Aileen were getting all settled into their new place in the Burley apartments. And it was at this point that Aileen confessed to Ty that she had murdered a man. And Ty did nothing and told no one, making her 100% complicit in Eileen's crimes. Sorry, but if you see something, you say something.
Choices.
If you don't say anything, you're complicit. Period. Aileen even showed her Richard's ID. Ty saw all of the stolen shit, and she still chose to say nothing. Later on, Ty would go on to testify that Aileen said nothing about a rape. She had no bruises on her, no signs of a violent struggle, none of that. So Ty seems to believe that there was no rape, that this was done because she wanted his wheels and she was in the robbing biz.
And because Ty was spending all of her money.
Correct.
That's fine.
Yep. Shortly after, Ty saw Richard's photo on the news and also pictures of the abandoned Cadillac, which she immediately recognized as the exact car that Aileen had come home with. So she knew that Aileen was, at the very least, driving a dead man's car.
And again,
She said nothing.
Never.
Yep. On Wednesday, December 13, 1989, about 2 weeks after the murder of Richard Mallory, his body was discovered 5 miles from where Aileen had left his Cadillac. An autopsy later revealed that he had been shot 4 times in the chest with a .22 handgun. One of the gunshots had been fired while he was sitting in the car, and the rest appeared to be inflicted after he was trying to flee.
Oh, man. So he got out of the car.
Yes. Investigators searched Richard Mallory's home. They questioned his family. They questioned friends. They questioned the women that he spent time with. But everything was just, it was a dead end. They had nothing. And making it even more difficult is the fact that Aileen Wuornos was a drifter. Like,
yeah, she didn't.
And she also had several aliases. So she was going to be hard to find.
Except for that pawn shop, baby.
Yup. On Saturday, May 19, 1990, so this is 5 months from the murder of Richard Mallory, 47-year-old David Spears was on his way to his ex-wife's house with a large sum of cash on him for his daughter's upcoming graduation. And this is actually kind of a sad backstory. David and his wife had been divorced, but they always were on good terms. Like they were good friends. Yeah. And recently they had actually reconciled and were even talking about getting remarried.
Oh.
Yeah. Now, what caused him to cross paths with Aileen, we don't know. But it's speculated that she flagged him down on the side of the road. He thought she was a woman in distress, or she could have posed as a hitchhiker, We don't know because, spoiler alert, David's dead, and not spoiler alert, Aileen is a fucking liar. So again, we'll never know. According to Aileen, David had picked her up for sex, but when they were about to do the deed, he, out of nowhere, became violent and she had to shoot him in self-defense. There's just one small problem with this story, though. David Spears was later found to have a total of 6 bullets in him, and some of the bullets were clearly fired into his back as he was attempting to retreat. So after she kills David, same MO. She steals all of his money, and he had about $700 on him because, remember, he had money on him for his daughter's graduation. So she took all of that money, she stole his truck to get home, and then she dumped it the next day.
What an asshole.
May 31st, 1990, 2 weeks after she kills David Spears, Aileen is picked up by 40-year-old Charles Carskadon. Same thing. Shoots him multiple times. 9 to be exact. Steals his cash 9 times. She shot him 9 times.
Every time it just keeps...
It gets worse.
Yeah.
Yep. She steals his cash and then justifies the murder after the fact because she finds a gun in his car. So she's like, well, he was going to kill me anyway, so it's a good thing I killed him first. This pissed her off so much, in fact, that she actually reloaded her gun and shot his dead body a couple of more times.
Just the fact that he had a gun?
Yes. She said, which people carry guns.
Yep.
Just because you're carrying a gun doesn't mean you're going to kill someone, okay?
No,
I mean,
it doesn't.
You cannot justify killing someone just because they have a gun and you don't want them to kill you first.
If they're pointing it at you,
correct.
I get it.
Yes, it was like hidden in his car. Like it was probably like a self-defense.
Well, yeah, legally, if you're driving with a gun, you have to have it out of your arm's reach and in a case.
Correct.
And it cannot be loaded.
Correct.
So I like to think it was probably under a seat somewhere if she found it after the fact.
That's what I'm assuming, yeah.
What a bitch.
Yep. After she shoots his dead body multiple times, she then steals the car and drives it back to her and Ty's place. And I just want to highlight here how wild the whole situation with Ty was, because Ty has now seen Aileen driving 3 random cars and then disposing them. She's seen all kinds of stolen property come into the home. I mean, where are you getting this shit?
She don't care.
Yeah. And Aileen straight up told her that she had murdered someone. And again, Ty does nothing and continues to spend the money that Aileen is bringing in from these dead men. It's fucked up.
It's very fucked up. I can't.
I think Ty just didn't care. She wanted money. Money was rolling in.
Yep.
Stolen shit was coming in that they were using. I don't think she fucking cared. And I really don't.
Aileen wasn't banging the dudes at this point. She was just killing them for the money.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that was okay with Ty because she wasn't doing active sex work. I don't know.
Who even knows?
I don't know.
But
this is good though.
Huh?
This is good though.
Thank you. I'm glad that you like it because here's where we are going to leave them off.
No!
For part 2.
You bitch.
And part 2, we're going to cover her frenzy era because she goes balls to the wall. Very common with serial killers.
Yeah.
Then we're going to talk about her arrest. We're going to talk about all of the wild courtroom theatrics, all of the aftermath of the trial. I'm going to play clips.
Okay.
It's going to be bonkers.
Hold on to your butts.
Hold on to your butts, seriously.
Well, can we record the second one today? Because I really need to hear the rest.
Yup.
Y'all.
But y'all are going to have to wait. Sorry. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Tune in next week for part 2 of Aileen Wuornos. Again, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be fun. You guys are going to hear Aileen talk. You're going to hear her pop off in the courtroom to the judge. Oh, it's good. It's so good.
I'm ready.
It's so good.
All right, hang up on them so I can hear it.
All right, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you for listening.
We'll see you next Tuesday is what she means.
Yeah, but don't be one.
Bye.
Bye.